All right, let's talk about Ozempic, Wegovy. Those so-called miracle weight loss drugs. I mean, they're literally everywhere right now. But what if I told you there's a paradox, a hidden twist at the heart of their success that could completely change how we think about muscle? You've probably seen the headlines, right? Miracle drugs, but are they destroying your muscle? And yeah, that is a scary thought. So today, we're going to get to the bottom of it. Is this a real hidden danger we should all be worried about? Let's find out. Okay, so first things first, let's be super clear about one thing. These GLP-1 drugs, they've been an absolute game changer. For folks managing type 2 diabetes and obesity, they've been nothing short of life-changing. We're talking significant weight loss, better heart health for millions. That part is not up for debate, no question about it. But here's where that little voice of concern starts to creep in. You see, whenever you lose weight, and I mean by any method, not just with these drugs, you don't just lose fat. You always lose some of what we call lean mass. And yep, that includes your muscle. The studies are clear. It's happening with these drugs too. So when you look at the numbers, they can seem a little alarming at first. Across different studies, we see that the reduction in lean body mass makes up somewhere between 12 and 40% of the total weight someone loses. And that sounds like a lot, right? Okay, but this right here, this is probably the single most important point of this whole conversation. The drug isn't specifically targeting your muscle. It's not hunting it down. This is just a normal, totally expected part of losing a lot of weight. The key word, the magic word really, is proportional. The muscle loss is right in line with the fat loss. It's not some red flag that things are going wrong. And that brings us to the real core of what we're talking about today. If we know that losing some lean mass is normal, that it's proportional, well, maybe we've all been asking the wrong question. What if focusing on the amount of muscle we have is making us miss the real story? So here we are, the promise and the paradox. On one side, you have these incredible, life-changing health benefits, and on the other, this big looming question about muscle. Well, let's just get right into it and resolve this thing by looking at what really matters. And this is where we need a total shift in our thinking. For so long, we've all been obsessed with muscle quantity, the total amount, the sheer size. But the real game changer, the thing we should be focused on, is muscle quality. We're talking about stuff like how much fat is inside the muscle itself, how efficient your mitochondria are, how sensitive it is to insulin. And as it turns out, that is a way, way more meaningful measure of how strong you actually are. All right, let's really dig into this whole idea of quantity versus quality, because honestly, this is where the entire story just flips on its head. Okay, let me introduce you to a new term. It's called myosteatosis. Yeah, I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but all it really means is fat that has infiltrated your muscle tissue. The easiest way to think about it is like the marbling you see in a steak. And just like with a steak, a little bit might be one thing, but too much of it is a really bad sign. It's a key indicator of poor muscle quality and a whole host of metabolic problems. So the big question is, how do these drugs actually affect this fatty muscle? Well, luckily for us, science is giving us some amazing clues. And one of the biggest comes from a huge clinical trial called SURPASS-3. They took a really close look at the drug tirzepatide to see what was going on. And what they found, well, this is the big aha moment. The study discovered that while people did have that modest, proportional drop in the overall size of their muscle, the drug led to marked reductions in the amount of fat inside the muscle, that myosteatosis we were just talking about. So let me say that again. They were losing a little bit of overall mass, but they were dramatically improving the quality of the muscle they had left. This is just fascinating, right? It gets us to the real science of strength. It's not just about size, it's about function. So the next logical question is, how? How are these drugs actually pulling this off? Well, it seems to come down to this really powerful 1-2-3 punch. First, they actually enhance blood flow to your muscles. Second, they improve your muscles' insulin sensitivity, which is huge. And third, they reduce inflammation. You put all of that together, what do you get? You get muscle that is way more metabolically efficient. It just plain works better. And believe it or not, the story doesn't even stop there. Early preclinical research is pointing to even more cool benefits. Things like direct anti-inflammatory effects, antioxidant actions. Some studies even suggest they might help suppress muscle breakdown and promote the creation of new muscle cells. Now, this is still early days, the investigation is ongoing, but wow, the signs are incredibly promising. Okay, that's the science, and it's fascinating stuff. But let's bring this back to the real world, right? This is all about function over form. So, what does having better quality muscle actually mean for you day to day? For things like carrying your groceries or walking up a flight of stairs. I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Having better looking muscle on some high-tech scan is one thing, but does that actually translate to real-world strength? Because the fear, the big worry, has been that people on these drugs are actually getting weaker. So, what does the evidence actually say? Well, thankfully, the evidence we have so far is incredibly reassuring. What scientists have done is combine the results from a whole bunch of different studies. It's called a meta-analysis. And they looked at super practical, real-world stuff. Things like grip strength, cardio fitness, and just your general ability to do daily tasks. And the verdict? They found no clinically meaningful impairments. Let me repeat that. People were not getting weaker. And this quote really just sums it all up perfectly. The amazing improvements in the quality and composition of the muscle seem to completely cancel out the modest drop in the muscle size. In other words, the muscle you have left is higher quality, it's more efficient, and it is every bit as strong. So where does all this leave us? Well, this discovery pretty much reframes the entire conversation around these drugs. It opens up some absolutely incredible possibilities for the future of muscle health, possibilities that go way, way beyond just weight loss. I mean, just think about this for a second. This isn't just a story about obesity anymore. If these drugs are this good at improving muscle quality, it raises a mind-blowing possibility. Could they one day be used to fight things like sarcopenia? That's the natural age-related muscle decline that, let's face it, affects pretty much all of us as we get older. And that, right there, is the big, provocative thought I want to leave you with today. Is it possible that a class of drugs, originally designed for diabetes and obesity, could end up being one of our most powerful tools for helping us all stay stronger for longer? It's a truly remarkable idea. And it all comes back to one simple concept: quality over quantity.